The dark truth behind Blackbeard's ghost begins not on stormy seas, but along the quiet coastlines of North Carolina, where whispers of phantom pirates still drift on the wind. Edward Teach, better known as Blackbeard, was the most feared pirate of the early 1700s, a man whose very presence sent chills through sailors across the Atlantic. But his death did not end his reign. Locals swear that his ghost still lingers, his headless body searching the shoreline, his eyes glowing with unearthly fire. Legends say that even today, fishermen and travelers see strange lights flickering over the water, hear chains dragging through the night, or glimpse a dark figure rising from the waves. Is it only imagination, or a haunting reminder that Blackbeard refuses to rest? Before we reveal the dark truth of this story, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support keeps these forgotten tales alive. What if the legend is more than superstition? What if behind every chilling sighting lies a hidden piece of history? That is where our journey begins, with a story most people believe to be true, an almost romantic tale of a pirate cursed to wander forever. Most people know the tale of Blackbeard's ghost as a haunting story told by sailors and coastal families of North Carolina. They say that after Blackbeard was killed in 1718 near Ocracoke Island, his spirit never found peace. The legend paints him as a restless shadow, forever condemned to roam the waters where he met his end. In its most popular form, the story describes eerie lights dancing above the waves on moonless nights, believed to be his searching spirit. Families would warn children not to wander near the shore after dark, for the pirate's ghost was said to drag the curious into the sea. Many retellings emphasize his gruesome death. Blackbeard was decapitated by the Royal Navy, and his severed head was hung as a trophy. The myth twists this violent end into a supernatural curse. They claim his headless body still swims through the water, desperately seeking its missing head. Some even say they've seen his skull, glowing faintly beneath the waves, guiding the body in endless circles. These details transform the pirate's execution into a chilling fireside story, spreading across generations. The romanticized version often portrays Blackbeard's ghost as both terrifying and strangely noble. He becomes a tragic figure, a man too powerful, too legendary, to fade into death. For locals, his presence almost feels protective, like a grim sentinel watching over the coastline. Fishermen whisper that when storms rise suddenly, it is Blackbeard warning them not to sail. In this telling, his ghost becomes more than horror. It is a familiar companion of the sea, feared yet respected. Tourists who visit the Outer Banks are still told these stories as part of the local heritage. Guides describe shadowy figures walking the beaches at dusk, chains rattling or strange shadows flickering in the surf. The legend is repeated so often that many come to believe it unquestioningly. It is this version, half cautionary tale, half romantic ghost story, that remains etched in the collective imagination of America's haunted folklore. Yet beneath this popular tale, something feels unresolved. If Blackbeard was truly a ruthless pirate, why would his ghost be remembered almost tenderly by the locals? And if his death was so violent, could the haunting really be just a tale for children? These questions lead us deeper into the cultural and historical roots of the legend, where the story begins to shift and darker truths start to surface. Blackbeard was not born a ghost story. Edward Teach, or Thatch, was a real man who lived during the golden age of piracy in the early 1700s. He became infamous not only for his ruthless raids, but also for the terrifying image he created. Witnesses described him weaving slow-burning fuses into his beard during battles, so smoke curled around his face like the breath of hell itself. His legend was crafted even before his death, and it served a purpose: to terrify enemies into surrender without a fight. This theatrical cruelty became the seed for the ghost stories that would later surround him. When he was finally hunted down by Lieutenant Robert Maynard of the Royal Navy in 1718, the battle was brutal. Blackbeard is said to have taken over 20 sword wounds and 5 musket shots before collapsing. His head was severed and hung from Maynard's ship as proof of victory. For locals, the violence of this death was too vivid to be forgotten. Stories grew quickly, fueled by the raw shock of seeing the most feared pirate reduced to a lifeless corpse. In an era when oral traditions carried more weight than written history, these details transformed into the foundation of a ghostly legend. Culturally, The Carolinas were fertile ground for such myths. The coastline was dotted with shipwrecks, storms, and unexplained disappearances. To people who lived by the sea, danger felt alive, and tales of restless spirits explained the unexplainable. Blackbeard's violent end and reputation as a larger-than-life villain made him the perfect vessel for these fears. Ghost stories about him spread not only as entertainment but as warnings, teaching children caution and reinforcing the mysterious power of the ocean. Over time, different regions gave the legend their own twist. Some spoke of Blackbeard's spirit roaming the waters near Ocracoke Inlet, dragging chains across the seabed. Others insisted they saw him walking headless on shore, still commanding phantom sailors. Each variation reflected local anxieties. Fishermen feared sudden storms, farmers feared coastal raids, and communities feared lawless violence. The ghost of Blackbeard became a mirror of these cultural concerns, shifting with each retelling to fit the fears of the people who told the tale. But here lies the first twist. Many historians suggest that the persistence of Blackbeard's ghost in folklore may not be about supernatural events at all. Instead, it could reveal the psychological scars left by colonial violence, piracy, and the brutal struggle for control over the Atlantic. Was the ghost just a reflection of collective trauma? Or is there something more hidden beneath the surface of history that kept his presence alive? These doubts prepare us for the darker revelations of the original story. The earliest and darkest versions of Blackbeard's ghost story strip away the romantic touches and leave only terror. In these accounts, the pirate spirit is not a protective presence, but a cursed revenant, condemned to eternal torment. Locals whisper that after his execution, sailors saw a headless figure rising from the depths, its body thrashing in unnatural movements, chains clattering against unseen rocks. Unlike the later tourist-friendly versions, these stories had no comfort. They spoke of a malevolent force that hunted the living, seeking revenge for its violent end. To the people who first spread them, the ghost was not a companion of the sea. It was a predator. Some of the oldest tales describe Blackbeard's ghost attacking ships. Crews claimed that phantom sails would appear suddenly beside them in storms, manned by shadowy figures with glowing eyes. The apparition would ram into their vessels, leaving survivors convinced they had been marked by the pirate's wrath. Others swore they saw a severed head floating on the tide, its mouth opening as if to scream, while the headless body flailed in the waves nearby. These grotesque images were not the invention of modern storytellers. They were born from the raw fear of those who had lived through piracy's violence. In this original telling, Blackbeard's ghost was also said to drag men into the water. Fishermen who went missing were sometimes declared victims of the pirates' revenge. Parents used these tales as warnings. Stray too close to sea at night, and the headless pirate will take you. These stories were not entertainment. They were cautionary myths tied directly to survival. They fused real danger with supernatural horror, blurring the line between what people feared in life and what they imagined beyond death. What makes these versions even more disturbing is their suggestion of eternal unrest. The ghost is never allowed peace, forever circling the waters of Ocracoke, endlessly searching for its head. In some tales, the head itself glows with a fiery light, guiding the body like a lantern of damnation. The image is both terrifying and symbolic. A man whose hunger for power was so great that even in death he cannot be whole. The early tellings emphasize this eternal cycle of violence, as if the ocean itself had cursed him for his sins. And here comes a twist. These stories often carried an unspoken lesson. The people who told them were not just frightened of pirates. They were haunted by what piracy represented: greed, bloodshed, and the collapse of order. Blackbeard's ghost was not only a monster, it was a reflection of the chaos left behind after his death. Was his spirit truly stalking the living? Or were people seeing their own fears return in the shape of a legend? This unanswered question pulls us deeper into the symbolic dimension of the tale. When examined symbolically, Blackbeard's ghost reveals layers far deeper than a pirate haunting the sea. His headless figure embodies the loss of identity, a warning about how ambition and violence can strip a man of his humanity. In folklore, the severed head often represents judgment and the inability to escape one's sins. Blackbeard wandering eternally without it suggests a punishment worse than death, being remembered not as a man, but as a monstrous shadow of one's deeds. This reading turns the ghost into a moral emblem, reminding listeners that power pursued without restraint always comes at a cost. The glowing skull, guiding the restless body, can also be read as a symbol of conscience. Even in death, Blackbeard cannot hide from the burning light of what he was. His ghost is trapped in an endless cycle, the body seeking reunion with the head, the soul yearning for forgiveness it will never receive. This theme echoes through many ghost stories, but here it becomes especially powerful, because it is tied to real historical violence. The symbol is not just fantastical. It reflects genuine cultural scars left by fear, greed, and cruelty. The ocean itself plays a crucial role in the symbolism. For coastal communities, the sea was both provider and destroyer. Blackbeard's eternal haunting of its waters represents the sea's dual nature, nurturing life one moment, claiming it the next. His ghost, circling endlessly, becomes a reminder of the unpredictability of fate and the danger of human arrogance against nature. In this way, the legend functions almost like a ritualized story, embedding caution and humility into generations of seafaring families. Another important layer is silence. Many retellings emphasize the eerie quiet before Blackbeard's ghost appears. The absence of wind, the stillness of waves, the sudden pause in nature. Silence here becomes a trial, forcing those who experience it to confront fear without distraction. Symbolically, it mirrors the silence of unspoken history, the trauma of colonial violence, slavery, and piracy's brutality, which communities carry but rarely voiced. The ghost emerges from this silence like a repressed memory made visible. Yet the greatest twist in this symbolic reading is that Blackbeard's ghost might not be about him at all. Instead, it reflects the people who kept the legend alive: fishermen fearing storms, families fearing lawless raids, children fearing the sea. The ghost is not just a pirate punished. It is the embodiment of cultural memory. This raises a haunting question. Do we believe in Blackbeard's ghost because he exists, or because we need him to exist in order to make sense of our own fears? The dark truth behind Blackbeard's ghost is not simply the tale of a pirate doomed to wander the sea. It is a mirror reflecting how legends live longer than the men who inspire them. Through centuries of retelling, Blackbeard has shifted from ruthless outlaw to a spectral guardian, from monstrous terror to cultural memory. This transformation shows how stories shapeshift to meet the needs of those who tell them, giving voice to hidden fears while offering meaning in the face of chaos. His ghost is less about one man, and more about the eternal struggle between power, guilt, and memory. The headless figure still wandering Ocracoke's waters embodies the price of unchecked ambition. His glowing skull, forever out of reach, becomes a haunting reminder that no amount of wealth or terror can shield a man from judgment. For those who believe, Blackbeard's ghost is not just an echo of the past. It is a warning for the present. It tells us that every act of violence leaves scars, not only on individuals but on entire communities, and those scars have a way of returning in forms we cannot control. There is also something deeply human in the legend's endurance. Whether or not the ghost is real, the story refuses to die because it speaks to universal fears. The fear of being forgotten, of being punished, of facing the consequences of our actions. Blackbeard's tale forces us to confront what lingers when the body is gone, but the memory remains. In this way, the legend becomes less about haunting others and more about how we are haunted by ourselves. As we close this journey, ask yourself, is the ghost of Blackbeard truly out there, searching endlessly for what was lost? Or does he live in the stories we repeat, the warnings we give, and the shadows we still fear? Perhaps the answer is both, that the ghost is real because we need him to be real, a vessel for everything we cannot explain or forget. That is the dark truth. Legends never truly die, because we will not let them. So the next time you hear chains rattling in the surf or see a flicker of light over the waves, remember this story. Maybe it's just the sea playing tricks, or maybe it's Blackbeard, still circling in eternal silence. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed uncovering the hidden truths behind these legends, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Become a member of this channel to help us bring more haunting stories to light, because the next revelation might be darker than you can imagine. More stories are on the way, and you won't want to miss them.